welcome to This Week in Games 285, where we read and distill all of the weekly game industry news so you don't have to. All right, here's what we're covering today. We're going to go over the PlayStation State of Play and a short business update as we're heading into the not E3 time of year. There's lots of things to talk about on the console world. Get your popcorn out because Aptoide launches its first alternative iOS game store in Europe. So we're going to see and watch what happens there with alternative app stores. Phil is going to give us yet another Squadbusters update, and this one's going to get spicy. We're going to put some chili powder on the popcorn for the Squadbusters conversation. Discord and YouTube, and by the way, everybody else, are launching, quote, native games. So lots of platforms are experimenting with games. Where's LinkedIn? We should have thrown LinkedIn in here. I haven't tried that one game and I haven't gone back. Anyway, I'm Jen Donahoe, strategic marketing consultant at Beta Hat and Jade Inferno. And today we have Philip Black, game economist at Game Economist Consulting.
Hey.
Eric Kress, principal at Gossamer Consulting Group.
What's up, punks?
And Mishka is out for his birthday. So at 6 a.m., he calls Laura and is like, hey, by the way, it's my birthday. Can you come and be on the podcast, even though you were in Vegas and doing other things? Laura Taranto, Senior Director of Product at Big Fish. Howdy.
Hello.
Anybody know how old he is?
Mishka?
75.
It's vague.
Late
30s is a good guess. Late 30s is a good generic guess.
I think he's early 40s.
He's not older than you, Kress.
No, his eye lines are telling, you know? His eye lines are telling. You can't hide that shit.
I got creams for that.
Oh, that sounds funny. All right. What do we have going on? Laura, what are you up to?
I went to Vegas for the first proper time. So London, Vegas, kind of a long flight. Seattle, Vegas is like 2 hours. I did Vegas for one day in the past, like first flight out, last flight back from Seattle. Just had lunch, basically flew back. This time I went. It's actually a really fun place. I had no idea. Like it was really cool. It was warm.
Did you go get an Elvis wedding or something? What happened? I mean, did something happen?
No. It was a friend's birthday. I saw Steve Aoki perform.
Oh,
he was very entertaining. I quite enjoyed the show. It like the pool parties, not quite my style, but it was super fun. Like it's just the food was really good. It was a nice break. It was a nice break from Seattle. I see why people go.
Just keep it to less than 48 hours. And then things get weird in Vegas after that.
Exactly.
That's when things get funky. It gets sad.
Sounds like a very different experience than when I go for MAU, which is not quite as exciting and fun. You're surrounded by all of that, but you can't really participate because you're going to silly conferences.
Yeah, I go to basketball tournaments and you actively avoid the fun, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't want the kids getting involved. All right.
No corrections, apparently.
Perfect.
Well, or no one reached out to yell at us, which was shocking that this week that didn't happen. All right, so going into the quick hits for the markets. So speaking earlier about all those native games, YouTube Playables are, well, playable on the browser, iOS and Android, with over 75 games available as of launch day, which was May 28th, so last week. I haven't really engaged with these. I tried it a long time ago. I was in the beta, I guess.
How many times do we have to do this? How many times do we have to go through this bullshit and talk about this? It doesn't work. No one gives a fuck. Okay, stop it. No one cares.
I +1 that.
All right.
I +1 that. I am not going to YouTube. I'm not going to Netflix.
Why
to
are
play,
they wasting money
games.
on this shit? Anyway, all right, whatever.
They think it's engagement, I guess. It's, it's LinkedIn. And now, later on, we're going to talk about Discord and how they're trying to do the same thing. Okay. So let me give you a little bit of mark your calendars update as we're entering, like I said earlier, the not E3 Summer of Games. So Summer Games Fest is this Friday, June 7th. I think it's in the afternoon sometime, but, we're all different time zones. IGN Live is June 7th to 10th. Ubisoft Forward is June 10th at noon Pacific time, 9 CET. So maybe we should do another watch and heckle like we did with the Xbox one, or is it not enough fun? We'll just recap it. And then Apple's WWDC is coming June 10th to 14th. The keynote's on June 10th. So a lot going on Friday, a lot going on Monday. I don't think there's anything game related coming from Apple, but they always talk about, sometimes they talk about scans, sometimes they talk about other things that influence us. All right, Transmedia for the week, Minecraft animated series coming to Netflix. So this was announced on the tail end of the 15-year anniversary. Can you believe that Minecraft has been around for 15 years? It's like, holy crap. So the animated series, clearly it's kid targeted because it's going to tell an original story with new characters and reflect on the world of Minecraft in a new light. It is currently in development by talented studio Wildbrain, creators of Sonic Prime, Ninjago, Carmen Sandiego, and will debut on Netflix. Mattel, who holds the toy license, should be thrilled. I used to actually make Minecraft toys when I was at Mattel. It's a fantastic toy license, so they must be thrilled to finally get new kid contact. And then there's another movie coming with Jack Black. Like a Dragon, Yakuza crime action series to debut on Prime Video based on the game franchise. So Prime is really stepping up. In fact, everybody is. Everyone's looking for games.
We should expect similar result to Fallout, right? The Transmedia truthers will come out. I'm sure we'll be drumming up the DAU charts for Yakuza. I'm sure we'll be drumming them up and celebrating them and doing LinkedIn posts and talking about sales uplift. It's going to be great. We're going to do every time this happens.
Remember, we're rebranding it to franchise. It's just a franchise
plan.
plan.
That's right. Thank you.
Yeah, it's
Good
just
call.
part of the plan. Okay. Let's go to Laura. You want to talk about investments, M&A? What's going on in the world?
Yeah, so we have an update from GameFam. They are going to launch a multi-million-dollar fund supporting user-generated content developers as the metaverse creator economy grows. So the GameFam Creator Fund will invest $5 million into innovating for new games on Roblox, Fortnite, any other kind of UGC games, while also providing access to GameFam's expert advice and proprietary resources. The investment sizes will vary between $10,000 and $100,000. It's really hoping, I think, to push forward creators, and they're going to help fund all of that going forward. 1/4 of the funds are reserved exclusively for investments in creators from underrepresented backgrounds. And the program's also for veteran devs to take a chance to take some time off or hire some teammates, maybe not work around the clock, get a little bit of a break and to have a bit more support. I think it sounds like a very nice move.
Yeah, Ethan, go get some money.
Yeah. You don't have to paint the ivy anymore. You can get help.
All right,
Chris, what do you got?
ByteDance enters the second phase of video game business. As new head of Newverse unit says, focus is on fun games.
No shit.
No,
Fun games?
come on. I don't want fun games. What are you talking about? The Beijing-based company on Monday confirmed that Zhang is new head of its video gaming unit, Newverse. The unit is expected to adhere to long-term goals and be more patient in product development and operation. Again, this is one of those announcements that says absolutely nothing. So we have no idea what's happening at ByteDance right now and with Newverse, but something's happening.
I thought they were gone. They exited the business.
They
I thought
did.
this is why Snap.
They did. That's why I dropped this in here, because it was like,
Okay.
well, no, we're back. And then they didn't actually sell Moonton. They kept it. So there was a rumor that they were going to sell it, and they were like, well, actually, never mind. So somewhere along the way, perhaps what's going on in the US government right now, they're like, well, maybe we shouldn't get rid of all the gaming stuff yet, just in case.
So given this, do you repaint Marvel Snap and Second Dinner exiting from this relationship as more of a Second Dinner decision than a Newverse decision?
Of course, it's a second dinner decision.
Okay.
Yeah.
Especially with the raise.
Yeah, of course, dude. They're going to self-publish.
Yeah.
Like if
Yep. Makes sense.
UK retailer Game will shutter its rewards program on July 31st. Avalanche Group is closing its Montreal studio it acquired just 8 months ago. Kingdom Hearts 4 will not appear at the Summer Games Fest. I think there's been some speculation that game has looked closer than people think. But
Is that a layoff?
no, I don't know why that's on here, but whatever. And then less than 6 months after laying off 40 people, Dead by Daylight studio Behavior Interactive drops another 95 people.
Ooh.
Yikes.
Oof.
Yeah, that's not good.
Or the French
Yikes.
Canadians getting hammered.
Yeah, so
Do you think it's because they're predominantly horror games, right? Like they're Dead by Daylight. They're like
No,
their
there's a dating
specialty is
sim.
horror.
Dating
Oh.
sim extension
With vampires? I don't know. I'm
with
just
Dead by Daylight.
really? What?
When you have money and you have a live service game for a long time, you get bored.
I think these middle tier developers are going to really have a tough time in this new day and age. Like all the data suggests that it's big wins, right?
Got it.
Fundamentally.
Oh, makes
I agree with
sense.
you from the puzzle mobile standpoint too.
And also, like, look, these horror games, they just don't do well.
Dead by Daylight, it's an incredible live service franchise. Been around forever. It's a
Yeah, that
regular
one does
top
well.
10 Steam franchise. It's an exception though. I think your point is largely taken. Dark and Darker though. Left 4 Dead. I don't know, Eric.
You think they'll come back?
I think you can have breakout hits in the genre, and you've got the way that they've run the live service on Dead by Daylight is really well done. They license out, talk about Transmedia, they'll go and they'll get all of the different horror icons from different properties and bring them in every season, just like, you know, in Overwatch or Diablo or a Fortnite. They bring in seasonal content that people really want to engage in. It's got PvP, it's got multiplayer. I think the challenge is that it's a genre that does have a cap to it. You know, it's what we talk about all the time is how do you get new players into that kind of a genre? It's a bit capped. So I don't think there's growth, but if you can run a cash cow business, like you should do that. So maybe they're struggling with taking bets on growth.
It just doesn't make sense. You're right. They've maintained a pretty decent revenue stream.
It's incredible. It's an asymmetric game too. It's extremely unique, Dead by Daylight in a lot of ways. A lot of DLC too.
It's just not enough, right?
Correct, right? Like it, you know, if to grow, if you just
Yeah.
want to figure out how do you run and maintain a solid business, that's what it appears that they've been able to do. And that genre does appeal to a lot of different folks. I mean, Left 4 Dead, I used to love that game, right? Like, well, I love Walking Dead. I love anything in that universe. So I guess, but I don't consider myself a horror game fan. That's really interesting.
I think zombies are a middle ground.
Yeah,
I think,
you're right.
You know, I think we're getting into
gateway
definitional stuff
drug?
here. It is the gateway drug, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, according to Newzoo, I think they're around 60 million a year or something. That's not enough.
bad.
That's not enough to maintain a studio and build new games.
No, fair. They have other titles as well, but that's by far their leader. All right, let's talk about more games.
More new titles, and it's our favorite game publisher. It's Netflix Games. They're back with 14 new game announcements. And I thought there was a strategy as I was reading this, and as I got further and further into the 14 games, it looks like it's just throw more crap against the wall. But that being said, it is finally happening. We are getting an Emily in Paris game. And they screwed the pooch on this one, I can already say immediately, because it's going to be like a story-based game. Where is the merge? Where is the genres that we know excel in this target demo? Why would you not at least give that a shot? Like, they're out there building match games for Stranger Things. Why are you not doing this for Emily in Paris? Selling Sunset. Why are you not going to build an economy core around this? That's, again, going to be a part of that Netflix Stories sub-brand. Frustrating. There also is a Lord of the Rings game based on The Hobbit that was in this announcement. That was out of nowhere. I don't know if this is like a Middle-earth Enterprises Embracer thing. They're just looking for cash. Quick minimum guarantee line of Coke, as Eric would say. I don't know. That was very strange. Something's happening, though. I don't know. I'm excited to see an Emily in Paris game no matter what it is. It's incredible it took this long.
I'm excited.
Is this the last hurrah before they shut this thing down? That's just
Could be.
Can I ask about House of the Dragons, about the startup? So Game of Thrones is on the mind. Lord of the Rings, which is kind of the same idea. These franchises like do not seem to translate that well into games, especially
Lord of the
like
Rings
Lord of the Rings
has had a storied franchise, you know, way back to like the PS2 era. You remember Twin Towers was like, everyone remembers the Twin Towers.
recently.
I'm playing that on the PS2. Oh yeah, recently it's been a shit show. There was an
Recently.
RTS that was really popular.
I thought I've gone over this ad nauseum. I thought like
Oh, it's been a while, Chris.
Yeah, all right.
Remind me.
the fundamental point that my understanding is that in order to be successful with something like Lord of the Rings, you have to replicate the quality of the movies, right? And the movies are such high quality that it's an impossible bar, right? Both from a storytelling and from a graphics and from fidelity and like epic nature of it, right? But they did so well with the movies, it's just impossible to replicate. But I do think that they did a good job with the Lord of the Rings. God, I'm totally forgetting the games that came out of Warner. Yeah, Twin Towers.
Battle from Earth, the Shadow thing, Shadow thing.
Yeah, Shadow. Oh, fuck. Anyway, those games actually
Clearly memorable.
No. Those games did a good job, and they innovated on systems and stuff. It was really, really cool. And Phil is right, is that those games that EA did ages ago were actually really, really good. But it's just hard. It's really, really hard to replicate that kind of quality and fidelity that you see on the big screen. And that's why Embracer was never going to be successful at this. So
Well, you know what's interesting about this is, so the competitor Amazon Prime had the, $500 million Lord of the Rings prequel going, and now Netflix wants to do games with the I mean, I guess it's kind of like Star Wars or these other brands where there's enough to go around, I guess. But it felt really interesting. I was like, wait, Netflix, not Amazon Prime, is doing a game based on the franchise?
Right.
I can tell you a lot about that.
Yeah, I can too.
The only thing I want to add, you have these movies that are these linear story experiences. You're going through, you're watching this thing. There's things already happening. The only game I thought that did a really good job of this recently was Hogwarts Legacy. They basically created an alternative timeline. The story was there. They hit all of the magic from the movie and the IP. So they delivered on that. It is so hard to do that, though.
I know. And those type of games are like $500 million worth of investment, right? This is what I'm saying. In order to replicate that kind of fidelity and storytelling, you need to spend like $1 gajillion. Like, who's doing that, right? Embracer can't even fucking pay the bill anymore, Like, I mean...
Netflix isn't going to put the money behind.
Hell no.
Well, hold up. Let's talk about something that's much easier to replicate. Star Wars, or at least the current state of that franchise. Star Wars Hunters is out. This is Zynga's first console game. It's on Switch, iOS, and Android, which isn't a bad strategy because it's very easy, or at least it's much easier to port to Switch than, say, the normal consoles, because the Switch has such poor hardware that resembles a 2016 mobile phone. This is by Natural Motion. If you remember the famous dev of Dawn of Titans, which had an infamous DOF article published about it, and they of course also have CSR Racing, which is really what's kept them alive. And if you went back to when Dawn of Titans launched, I don't think you would have made that bet. This thing has been in soft launch for 2 years. 2 years this thing has been in soft launch. It's a third-person action MOBA if we didn't have enough of those announced in the last couple months. I mean, we were talking about Marvel Rivals a couple weeks ago. We talked about Valve's Deadlock game, which just got a bunch of trademarks filed against it, which appears to be a third-person shooter. This is really, really weird. It is supported by Heroic Labs, our partner, so we know it's going to be an absolutely smooth launch technically, and we'll look into this next week. But this is happening. It's out.
I actually played it. It's not bad. It's pretty cool.
I just think, as someone who has been very involved in the Star Wars franchise, I made toys for many years. I just know everything there is to know about this franchise. The one thing, as a fan, all of the characters are made up. Like, there is not one character that is like from the lore. And I struggled to find that like connection. It sets it up like almost like a tournament where you've got these game show hosts that come in and are like, like, welcome to the arena. I did love that there's 2 Jawas that run around. Jawas are the little dudes, and there's like 2 of them that stack on top of each other and run around that were pretty fun. It looks okay. I don't know. It looks like Overwatch. It looks like, any other game, just third person.
Dude, if you're doing a cosmetic economy, like, this shit's not going to work. As far as I can tell, and maybe will correct me if I'm wrong next week, but like, the whole thing is built around cosmetic economy.
I think they sell characters, but that's still horizontal. It's not vertical.
Yeah,
Still.
it's like, if you don't have a depth of spend, you're not going to get the big audiences. Like, it's over before it began. Like, I don't understand why people keep making the same mistake.
Make the MOBA point, though. I think the MOBA point is far more important than the monetization
it's not
point.
really
Why are we building
MOBA.
more MOBAs?
It's a team-based, is it?
It is listed as a MOBA. When I looked it up, I was like, oh, wow, you claimed that. I think the challenge with all of these hero shooters, whether you call them a MOBA or not, third person or first person, is Crash, you're kind of dead on in that if you are running a cosmetic economy and you're not running loot boxes or other kind of pay to win areas, the overall spend revenue that you're going to get out of this kind of a game is going to be capped.
Right.
It's capped in the play. And actually, we'll talk about it a little bit later, but PlayStation announced Concord, which was yet another sci-fi third-person hero arena shooter. It's like, oh my God, Phil, is this the new extraction shooter? We're going to start doing these. And everyone's like, I gave up on extraction shooters because that's like too limited.
I mean, we did. It was called Battleborn. Remember, it was Battleborn versus Overwatch. That was like the huge, like, who's going to win? And no one remembers that anymore. And I'm not quite sure what's behind the resurgence. I guess there's blood in the water. Overwatch looks weak. People smell it, and they think they can eat something. I'm not so sure.
I mean, Valorant did a good job, right?
Val's great.
That's still doing well.
That was going after. That's a tactical shooter, though. That's a tactical shooter that was going after CS:GO, or at least trying to expand the tactical shooter market. That thesis was really well defined. I'm not quite sure.
They really executed well in that game.
Apex is still doing well. I mean, Overwatch is
Battle Royale.
Yeah, Battle Royale is the new one.
Their other modes have not been that great. They have not given them the list they've needed.
This looks like a fail, but honestly, it's a beautiful game. It's really well done. Good credit where credit's due, but it's not going to make money. Dude, yeah, how much money have they spent on this game? Like, it's been in development for 4 years, right? Like a full team for like at least 2.5 of that. Jesus Christ.
Can you imagine? And the Star Wars license is one of, if not the most expensive license. So you're above 20%. You're like in the 20 to 25% royalty rate on this thing.
And the fidelity of this game is amazing, right? So like, it's not, they didn't skimp. I don't know. It looks like a train wreck.
Elevate your game development with Heroic Labs, the cutting-edge platform for building multiplayer games. And you need an edge to be successful in today's gaming landscape. Their scalable Nakama server empowers you to create compelling, real-time multiplayer experiences effortlessly. Benefit from features like in-game chat, leaderboards, matchmaking, and more, all designed to enhance engagement and retention. Whether you're developing for mobile, console, or PC, Heroic Labs gives you the tools to bring your community together. Unleash the full potential of your game with Heroic Labs, where every developer is a hero.
This podcast is brought to you by Sensor Tower. Sensor Tower has acquired mobile analytics company Data AI, formerly known as We All Know and Love App Annie. 4 things you should know. Significant advancement. Number 1. This acquisition represents a major step forward for Sensor Tower. It expands its customer base, mobile marketing, and app intelligence products, and global presence. Number 2, undisputed leadership position. Sensor Tower strengthened its position as the leader in digital marketing and mobile app intelligence through this acquisition. Number 3, combined insights. This merger with Data AI allows Sensor Tower to offer customers even stronger and more detailed insights on the digital customer journey. And last, consumer trends. With increasing time spent on digital channels, the combined company is well positioned to capitalize on the growing trend of in-app purchases driven by platforms like Google, Meta, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and Snap. Exciting times lie ahead for Sensor Tower and Data AI as they join forces. If you're a customer, reach out to your account director for more information. Not a customer yet? No problem. Schedule a call to explore the innovative digital marketing products they offer. Go to Data AI or SensorTower.com and get on board with undeniably the best data partner in the business.
Last week, we were going to talk about a recent announcement from Rovio. I think it makes a lot of sense to start with where StumbleGuys is. So they have been on a decline ever since Scopely hired them, which makes a lot of sense. It has hyper-casual vibes. These things don't last long, but in the context of a hyper-casual game, I mean, the performance of the thing is insane. It's actually had a really slow growth, and there was an explosion period kind of at the beginning of 2022. It has stabilized in recent months. Scopely has started to stabilize it. I'm sure Scopely knew this was going to happen. I'm sure they knew that downloads looked like this, but they are on the stability train. I think the question is like, where is the competitor to this game on mobile? So if you look at their MAU right now, they're pulling in 30 million MAU on StumbleGuys, which is like batshit crazy to pull off 30 million MAU. So like, where is the mobile competitor to this? And it was supposed to be Eggy Party, but that completely flopped in the West. And we know that Mediatonic had a mobile SKU for Fall Guys, which was in testing in China. I don't think they developed it in-house because it was testing in China, but they've failed to ship their products on mobile, which has been just an incredible miss not to put Fall Guys on mobile, just an absolute miss. And so I think this helps contextualize where Rovio's headspace might be with this Sonic announcement.
I actually did a little comparison between the two. So just to give context to everyone listening, Eggy Party lifetime revenue is like 350 million. StumbleGuys is 157 million. But Eggy Party, as Phil said, mostly in China versus StumbleGuys markets are the US, Germany, and Brazil.
And ads are crazy on StumbleGuys from what I've heard. Crazy revenue.
Yeah, DAO is like neck and neck. I was actually looking at their downloads. I wanted to see what they did in terms of pushes when I was looking at Sonic. And I was hoping to see, they must be pushing UA. And I was looking to see if there was a revenue spike following a download spike. But even though StumbleGuys actually has more downloads, but overall less revenue, there were some bursts. But for StumbleGuys, it doesn't look like the download bursts are working. Whereas for Eggy Party, one seemed to work. So there's a little bit of difference in strategy for how they're planning to bring in users and monetize them. I mean, they are similar core games, but Eggy Party's intense. Have you played it, Phil? Yeah,
I've played a lot of it.
Oh my God.
It's very Eastern.
It's It has a lot. So when I played Sonic Rumble, I was like, oh, this is Eggy Party Fall Guys with Sonic IP. I think you're entirely right. They are looking to make a play for that type of game in the West because Eggy Party's not hitting it, and there's obviously an opportunity. I think they're going for the same player base, but looking to expand, lower UA costs via the Sonic IP. It is still the Sonic you know and love. There's tons of nostalgia. It looks like Sonic, even though there's different battle modes, you still have elements that you are playing a platformer and collecting rings. Good multiple game modes, throwbacks, and level design. The controls are generally good. They incorporated a form of win streak, which I was really impressed by because they are taking a page out of the puzzle playbook, which I thought was very clever. It's also live events ready. The bad. The controls, they're good. They're not great. They could definitely be improved. The character speed needs work. The level differentiation isn't enough. Granted, it's a beta, but it needs a lot more because it was starting to feel too much like a grind. And honestly, in the first version, unless they look to expand it, it feels like it should be a multiplayer mode in like a larger Sonic game, the way it stands now. Hopeful, but I think there's a lot of work to do.
So something kind of fun, let me just promote the Deconstructor of Fun Slack channel. Go to the website and apply to join. The creative director of Fall Guys joined last week. And so that was pretty fun to have. If you really want to ask some Fall Guy questions, the creative director is now in our channel. I was like, ooh, we should get his feedback on this segment and see what he has to say. All right, moving on. Multiversus.
We talked about it last week. It was out last Wednesday. It was not Squadbusters, but it was accompanied by it. It's out. We have data from Steam. Multiversus doesn't look that bad. It actually looks pretty decent. It's probably around 500,000 DAU on Steam, but remember, it also distributed through EGS, and I'm sure this game is doing well on consoles. It is a Super Smash Brothers type brawler. I'd probably put it around 1 to 2 million DAU with console. The other thing that's kind of nice about it is it's been a week since it's launched, and PSU hasn't gone off a cliff yet, and I think a lot of that is because they already launched the product. So I'm sure the tourists who usually just download new games have kind of exited, and it's a much more stable player base. Let's see how this one does. It doesn't look bad on the gate. You know, let's see how they live ops it. Let's see if they can keep this one alive. But I'm a little surprised.
I called my buddy Bobby and I was like, hey man. First of all, he was like, oh my God, I can't believe you talked about my game. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm calling you back next week to hear how launch went. And he said it went great. All of the KPIs are on target for them. Everything is looking good. Everyone's very happy, especially coming out of WB where, you know, Justice League Kills the Suicide Squad didn't hit the mark for them. And I think that's being generous, you know, to have a win so far with the launch. Good on them. I'm really happy to hear that they've done this. A lot of really good IP in here. So let's see what happens.
Speaking about seeing what happens, Squadbusters, it's been out for a week, and Supercell has not given us our creator code yet, so we'll begrudgingly get through this section. It has been confirmed by Supercell that Squadbusters has hit 30 million lifetime downloads, although we see Sensor Tower report 40 million, which makes sense. There's a couple extra data points in there. This is really close to Brawl Stars. This is within a couple million of Brawl Stars. We, of course, have the ad campaign, which we talked about with Chris Helmsworth, which has accumulated over 29 million views on YouTube. I will say this, though, and we were talking about this in the Deconstructor of Fun Slack. This looks really weak for 40 million pre-registrations. This looks kind of embarrassing, actually, in terms of download volume. And if you look at the daily trends of download volume, it's already starting to go off a cliff. So a lot of that front-loaded spend, or at least a lot of the spend looks front-loaded. I've been kind of surprised. There's weird stuff going on in the Google Store Play ratings, which I haven't quite wrapped my head around, but it's around 3 stars rather than normal 4 stars, which you actually need for featuring. But someone had said there's a lot of shenanigans that go into how Google does ratings, but it's still really bizarre to me. When we look at revenue, which I'm sure Eric would love to talk about, it looks okay. It looks a little soft in terms of revenue so far. Again, like revenue takes time to stabilize with third-party estimates. So I'd put an asterisk around making quick conclusions. But in terms of Brawl Stars, it's pretty similar. It's around 9 million net so far. Brawl Stars was like 9.5. This game isn't going to have the monetization velocity of something like Clash Royale or Clash of Clans because you don't have loot boxes. It's very hard to spend large amounts of money very quickly in this game. You have to use consumables, which is tied to engagement, very much like a match game. Match games don't have high spend velocity either. And so I think it's going to take time for the revenue of this game to fully emerge. The sustainability of the model is pretty impressive. Exactly like Match 3. I mean, Match 3, we don't talk about the game economy enough, but the Match 3 game economy has been sustained for over a decade. basically on the same mechanics. And that's what I see here. I see a lot of potential for sustainability rather than Clash Royale, which went off a cliff, in kind of its middle era. So I don't know. I do think there's a disturbance in the force. I agree with you, Eric. There is a disturbance in the force. Something doesn't seem right here. Things just feel weird. But I think you're jumping the gun on any monetization comments. But I'll let you make them first.
Problem with writing notes ahead of time, you can anticipate what I'm going to say. Dude, revenue is shit. I mean, let's be honest. Like revenue, like when you're at the top 5 part of the chart, right? You can't really estimate what the revenue is. This is not top 5. Like this is like actually probably realistically close to what the actual revenue is. At 25 cents per download for your loyal fans, your golden cohort, it's not good, dude. And then why do we start caring about vanity metrics like downloads? Like everyone knows that Supercell can get the fucking downloads. They can shovel out crap and they'll get 40 million downloads, right? So it's like, who gives a shit about downloads if the revenue's not good and then also the DAU is getting weaker and weaker, falling off a cliff? I don't know. It's like, is this going to have the staying power? It just doesn't seem like people are sticking around. I'm going to take the under on all your estimates. 250 million seems like absolutely insane.
The noise is from the cross promo stuff. That to me is generating a lot of noise because cross promo is always really low quality installs because you're trying to take someone from another game who's interested in that game and say, go play this other game. And not only that, remember they give out in-game rewards. So if I played Clash of Clans and I pre-registered, I could get in-game Clash of Clans rewards. So I'm sure that generated a lot of riffraff or perhaps a lot of tourists that kind of sagged a lot of these metrics. But that being said, there should be a lot more sagging happening. They still only comped against Brawl Stars, which didn't have any of this stuff. And we don't know what they did on the marketing spend side. Mishka had said this was, one of the largest Supercell launches they were ever going to have. And if that's the case, if they blew all this money, if they have all these pre-registrations and this is all they have to show for it, it is concerning. And I would agree with you. The decline in daily active users is the most disappointing right now. And they could be in real shit. If we check back next week and this is continuing to decline and this hasn't had any sort of stabilization or growth, I would agree with you. I'm starting to put on the blinkers on this one. I actually think they need to get ahead of the narrative too. If this thing starts to turn by the next week, I think Supercell could have a comms crisis. If this thing doesn't, again, the stakes are real for this game, right? This is the first game launching after Supercell's next chapter. This is their new strategy. This is all this new stuff. If this doesn't go well, it's a bad look. It's a fall on your face.
I just had a quick peek just to see where the country breakdown was for downloads to get an idea where the players are coming from. So it looks like it's US, Indonesia, Brazil, South Korea, and India, kind of the top countries.
No wonder.
Oof. Yeah, that's riffraff. That is riffraff.
Dude.
Yeah, they're going to have to put in ads.
Yeah, you can't throw ads out there at 25 cents per download. Are you kidding me? You're just going to fucking blow money. Sorry, I should have looked at that. That's crazy.
Yeah, I'm wondering what their UA strategy is because what I have typically seen in the past, and it's a little bit old school, is you go big week 1, right? You want to make sure you're really going off of your featuring and you're going off of, the brand marketing spend and the trailer, trying to get that going. And then you start to, month 1 is usually a really big spend. And I didn't go into data AI and pull up any ads to see what we were looking at. I haven't seen any ads myself, but I've been pulling back a little bit on gaming this week. So maybe that's my fault. The fact that you're not seeing big download numbers from eFigs from Western Europe leads me to believe that UA isn't on in a big way. Like, I don't understand that. Like, why would you not see tier 1 markets, higher up in that list? So I think I'm agreeing with Crest. I'm really nervous for them. All of the reports that I read of people who are playing this game, who are loyalists and Supercell fans, are saying, I don't really know why I'm going to stick around. Like, the gameplay is really chaotic. It doesn't feel like there's strategy involved. Remember we read some people that were going in with like a team of 5 and just dominating. Like, you can kind of game the system and be assholes in the game and like keep everyone else from winning. And then you rage quit, right? If people are ganging up the way that the game is played. I don't know. What are you looking at now?
I just pulled up what we were referencing, the top downloads by country, and then I just switched it over to DAO just to give so people could see if they're watching what we were talking about.
Oh, yes, because we are also on YouTube or Spotify video. You can see that we're going to pull up charts now that when we talk about stuff.
Oh my God.
Really interesting. Oof.
Oh, this is.
I see this. See, the further we get into this, the further I start to think this is a marketing issue more than anything else. There's something weird going on with marketing and pre-registrations. There's a lot of noise.
How the fuck did pre-registrations drive so many downloads in Indonesia, Brazil, India, Turkey, Philippines, Thailand? I mean, those are like the top, 7 or 6 of the top 10 downloads. Like, dude, those are like the worst possible places to get downloads. No wonder our revenue per install is
Strange.
so low.
It could be marketing, but I was looking at the game reviews. There's a lot of complaints about pay to win, about how it's structured in terms of how the matches go, matchmaking.
So I do want to go to, Phil, what you said. So on Google Play, the way that reviews work is you get reviews by country. So every country has its review structure. And to your point, if you're not at 4 stars or above, you are not featured. You are not showcased because the algorithm thinks that your game has a problem. And so it doesn't show you. Now, there are instances where Google can go in and kind of override that. It's very difficult for them to actually do that. But if the game is showing up at 3 stars, and I think in Data AI or Sensor Tower, you can kind of go into Google Play reviews and look at it by country to see if that's the case. I mean, I don't know if it's review bombing or I don't know if people are just like, this isn't what I expected. I don't know if there are technical issues, but that might be slowing some of the adoption in tier 1 countries if reviews are that low in those countries and that's just not being showcased. But the conversion on pre-reg should have, I don't know, because Google is an automatic download. iOS, I'm trying to remember if it automatically downloaded when I hit the pre-reg button on iOS or if I had to actually hit the button.
I think it was auto-downloaded.
So you could tell a story, though. That can get you to your tier 3 nations. They're more Android-focused. It auto-downloaded for them. I think you could start to tell a story there. But at the end of the day, the end result is still the same. You have a bad country mix.
Yeah.
You have 40 million installs of low quality.
I wish I'd looked at that before. Yeah. That's bad news bears, man. Obviously, this is all predicated on whether or not the Sensor Tower data is actually accurate. So let's give them another week.
The 30 million downloads seem to match up a little bit. You know, obviously, the Data AI numbers were pretty dramatically off. Like 20, 30 million. Yeah, I threw those numbers in the Slack and everyone's like, ooh.
I think they've been adjusted downward.
Yeah, Neil posted that he had heard from Supercell. Luckily, like, I guess he's friends with them, so in a PR way. So he was able to get that accurate number. And I'm glad, and thank you, Supercell, for, you know, I think we're seeing more transparency from companies because, again, Yahoos like us get on a podcast and start talking about things. People are wanting us to have a little bit more of accurate numbers. So Mishka, call Ilka, tell him to like give us a direct feed to their PR team so we can get more data and talk about this more intelligently. I imagine that's not going to happen if things are trending how they're trending.
I'm a little worried for them, but we'll see.
All right.
Speaking of launches that may have not gone well, Destiny 2, the final shape, launched, and it was sort of a disaster. Servers were down, PSU went to 0 on Steam, players were getting queued, they couldn't get into the game. Those issues have now been resolved, and it has gotten Destiny almost to its peak PSU, at least on Steam, all time. So congratulations for them. This is the final hurrah for the game. Excited to see them move on to something else. Hopefully Marathon kills it. But the thing I kept thinking about is, did Bobby fuck up by letting this property go? Because if Bobby held on to Bungie, Bungie gets folded back into Microsoft. And I don't know, Microsoft's situation feels a lot better if they have Bungie under their portfolio. I mean, I'm sure Bungie would throw a fit. So this is all hypothetical, but man, wouldn't it be great to have Bungie back in the fold? What a narrative. And put them back on Halo. Oof. That would change things around for me in the Xbox narrative. But
whoa. Let's just not go crazy, right? There's a reason they didn't stay with Bobby, because Bobby did not treat them well. And the relationship was blown long ago.
I know.
But I'm shocked, though, that they have these kind of problems at launch. I mean, they've done this a million times. I wonder why they had so many issues with this launch.
Wasn't it because they were trying to be the live service technicians for the rest of Sony? Or is that just me being a shithead and saying that?
Their eye was off the ball type thing? Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. Like, again, like I know a couple folks there. And we all know folks there, and they have not told me anything. But anytime you do not have a laser focus on something and your best people are distracted, this is the type of outcome that happens, sadly.
But I want to be crystal clear here on Destiny. I love Destiny. I'm actually going to play this one for sure. This is not a live service model at all, right? This is a basically expansion pack model, right? And so this is old school live services. This is not new school live services. Their
Fair.
microtransaction
point.
stuff is really low. This is not an example of a success at all, in my opinion, from a live services model, microtransactions, recurring spend type thing. 'Cause it's all based upon paying for $40 or $50 for expansions. But it is an amazing.
What do you think the
game.
rev split is between their MTX and the expansion?
Oh,
so
it's
if we,
90-10,
you think it's 90-10?
80-20 max. Yeah, their microtransactions are terrible. Just to be clear.
Step into the future of game monetization with Xsolla, the premier partner for game developers seeking to expand their reach and revenue. Xsolla provides a robust suite of tools designed to enhance user acquisition, manage subscriptions, and streamline payment solutions worldwide. Unlock new markets and maximize profitability through their customized, secure payment architecture and dedicated support team. Xsolla, powering game developers to achieve global success.
This podcast is brought to you by AppsFlyer. In today's digital world, understanding your app's journey from discovery to download is more than just insightful, it's essential. Enter AppsFlyer, the leader in mobile attribution and marketing analytics that allows you to measure the full potential of your marketing efforts, making every ad dollar work smarter. With AppsFlyer, that's your new reality. Dive deep into data-driven insights that reveal exactly where your users come from and how they'll interact with your app. AppsFlyer, where your app's potential meets performance.
Moving on to topics of the day.
All right, here we go. So Aptoide launches its alternative iOS game store on Thursday. That is tomorrow, June 6th. If anyone wants in, they have reached out and said they will get you into their closed beta, especially if you're in Europe, because, well, you can't. Laura, we're in the US. So Phil and Mishka are the only ones that are going to be allowed in because it's a new third-party app store dedicated exclusively to gaming. This launch is the first iOS gaming app store in the European Union since the implementation of the DMA. It's closed launch with only a few thousand a day being let in. So to address Apple's 50 CTE per annual installation of the store, Aptoide has devised an innovative strategy. Instead of passing this cost directly to users via a subscription model, Aptoide will offset it by charging a fee to developers for in-app purchases. This approach aims to prioritize IAP-driven apps within the Aptoide iOS ecosystem. They expressed hope that if the CTE is ever eliminated, Aptoide would be able to support even more developers by improving the unit economics. Other third-party iOS stores in the EU have tackled the CTF in various ways. Setup app, for example, currently absorbs the fee, but plans to incorporate it into its mobile subscription pricing. And Alt Store PAL covers the fee through a €1.50 annual subscription fee for installing to the app marketplace. So I actually reached out to them just to chat because I thought this was really interesting. So the CEO said about the business model, the business assumption is that with our fee of the in-app purchases, we will support the CTF. The Aptoide fee is 20%, is the case of organic installations, and 10% in the rest, paid acquisition, direct to consumer. So really interesting to see new business models out there. The first time that we're seeing somebody actually go after and create their own app store. I think many of their games were generic, kind of like the solitaires, the backgammons, the casual games. So Phil and Eric, let's talk business. Do these apps have a prayer of making money?
There's some opportunities here and possibilities of fixing app stores and stuff, but the challenges are just so overwhelming in a way that I don't know if they can be overcome, right? So I think from an opportunities perspective, obviously reducing the revenue share is going to be great for publishers. And so that's like kind of the big, let's do this type thing. I think there's also the notion that a new app store can actually be a platform for games, right? This is what fucking Apple blew it, right? They had Game Center and never did shit with it, right? And so it could be a guild system, chat system. It could be Discord. You could do all kinds of crazy shit to build community around games like Steam has done. Of course, Apple never did that because they don't give a fuck about games, right? And so there's an opportunity there to build some kind of ecosystem. Building a gamer-focused destination makes sense, right? So that you collate and create an experience for games like the store used to be versus this bullshit, that they have now on the App Store. Obviously, discovery, is another thing. Like actually building a good app store where discovery works versus what Apple's created, which is a abomination. Marketing support has obviously been a big issue that Apple's kind of dropped the ball on in terms of creating strategies around live ops and events and things like that so that you can help communicate to the customer better through the store. Curation, as I said. And I think the big thing that is likely going to happen, similar to what web stores have done, is offer discounts, right? So in order to bring people over, you create a consumer discount. You need to create a value proposition for the customer, and you can do that by providing discounts to your most loyal customers. The problem with that is that you're only going to appeal to the customers, which are a very small percentage of your overall audience, right? For downloads, right? So I think these are the kind of the big opportunities that I see, but there are far more risks, right? And so the first risk is that changing customer behavior is fucking impossible, right? Like the notion that you're going to change people in a broad basis, that they're going to go anywhere but the fucking App Store and Google Play, it doesn't even seem reasonable to assume that, right? Not to mention the current process of downloading an App Store is so insane right now, and it should get better in theory, but it is so bad that like the friction there is impossible. Like there's just no way customers in droves are going to be doing this until they really fix that process.
Especially customers on an iPhone, right? Like, so if you don't have a killer game and a killer reason, like, ooh, I'm going to, like I said, it looks like some of the games are like solitaire and some kind of generic casual games, which are played by folks that might not be as advanced in how to utilize their iPhone. An iPhone is all about like, how do I get the easiest possible thing to have happen? A lot of these games exist for free in other places. What is it that is going to be there for me to overcome the friction of another store that I need to go and download? That's going to be the super challenge. So people should hopefully be looking at that as the number one thing they need to do alongside a killer game.
That's been every platform, Jen. To your point, that's been every platform. How did Valve launch Steam? What put Xbox on the map? Halo.
Right.
What put Prime Video on the map? Lord of the Rings. I mean, this is exactly what Jeff Bezos says. He's like, go out and build me a Game of Thrones. This is what you need at minimum to be able to launch a platform. And I agree with you on the risk. The only thing I would disagree with is I think the ceiling is actually even lower than you might be suggesting, because you immediately have Apple at 30%. So you're not going to charge more than Apple at 30%, of course. So that cuts off that revenue stream. So you got to be less than that. And then of course there's a floor here, which is also going to be all of the normal junk you got to deal with: credit card processing fees, refunds, the fixed cost of running an app store. But a lot of those are not fixed costs. They're marginal costs. They're going to rise with the number of transactions that happen on the platform. So like how do you get a VC outcome out of something like that, right? So you take the App Store number and you say like, okay, how much market share can we get? And then you add a ceiling to that. It's really bizarre. The thing you want to do is you want to control distribution. Ultimately, like you want to get into marketing. That's the most valuable thing you can do. Interestingly enough, Eric Seifert has a piece about this where I think he oversells the benefits. You can do things on another app store, like you don't have to deal with the SKU limit anymore. Remember, you had a SKU limit where you only had 100 SKUs. This has been changed to 500. We had the price limit, but that got increased as well in the App Store. So now you can do 10K. Seifert talks a lot about customization of the landing pages, which just launched as A/B testing on the App Store. There's all these kind of like fringe benefits, but again, like it's very hard for me to see any of those benefits being strong enough to be able to launch a whole new distribution center. It seems painful. It seems very, very painful. I don't know where people's headspace is on this. I don't think we want alternative app stores. I think we want Apple to fix their shit. Fix their shit. That's what we want. It's not even 30% that's a problem. It's just give me value for the money. Just give me the basic shit, like the SKU limit. It's been around for a decade. Why the fuck can you get me to 500 SKUs beforehand? It's like, this is easy shit. This is low level engineering.
Yeah, that is kind of fundamentally what it comes down to. But I don't think that's the thesis for Epic or Microsoft for that matter. They don't want Apple to fix their shit. They just want control over their own destiny and a direct relationship with the customers, right? So
yeah.
So anyway, the other challenge I see is like, recruiting developers is going to be hard, like splitting the baby. How is it going to work, right? If you have some people that have it on the App Store, some people have it on the alternative App Store. I don't know if that even works or how that works.
You're going to have to re-download it. Remember, you're going to have to relink it. Like if you want to get people, oh my God, it's just a nightmare.
It is a nightmare. It's a UI, UX, back-end customer management nightmare. Oh, and then also the uncertainty around the regulatory environment means we don't even know what the rules are going to be, and they're changing on a regular, right? So you have to be super frosty in order to like figure out what the fuck's going on. Like, and the rules are going to change not only for EU, but the UK and then the US. Like, so it's going to be a moving target constantly for the next years as these things go through the courts. So it may be a little bit too early, frankly, to like put a line in the sand now. And then the last thing I'll say is that, like, the one thing I didn't even think about at all is that you may want the flexibility of allowing people to use their own transaction systems or payment systems, right? So integrating alternative payment systems across different publishers within your store with its own payment system. Holy shit, dude. This is like layers of complexity that just are insane.
Epic did do this to their credit.
Yeah. So it's going to cost a shit ton of money, dude. Like, I don't know how these small companies are going to be able to do this shit. Microsoft, Epic, sure, but
I like the moxie. I like them trying, right? Like, you know, you need people out there kind of pushing the envelope, trying different things, seeing what works. And then maybe that's where innovation comes from. And maybe what they learn there, they can actually apply to somewhere else. I don't know. So I applaud them for trying, but it is, like you said, a bit of an uphill battle.
I'm rooting for them. What I hope is they take a lesson from Unity's book. I really hope they succeed. It may not replace the platforms, but it could be an additional platform. And I think it might work better for Gen Z and younger. There's potentially an opportunity there. I hope they partner with some studios and figure out what they need most to add them as a alternative app store. That's what I just hope they sit down, listen to what the frustrations are. I mean, talk to Neil Long and then focus on that.
what Unity playbook are you talking about?
Meaning how like Unity changed all their platform themes, didn't consult the developers they worked with first, and then went back and started talking to everyone. So they made this wide sweeping change without actually figuring out what the core concerns are with those change. So what I'm hoping is they don't go in blind. They're just like, we're going to make this app store. I'm hoping they actually sit down, do their product needs
problem.
research.
Okay, I gotcha.
And solve the problems. Like if they could serve me games, like I see the same games in the App Store. I would love to play new games, but I have to actually know the game to find the game. But there's going to be tons of those. Like if they actually go out and figure out what consumers want, which is going to be tougher, but what the developers want, I'm going to drink a little bit of the delusion Kool-Aid and just hope they pick the right things to focus on first. Because I'd love to see some change in this area.
I like your point. I don't think this is a developer solution as much as it needs to be a consumer solution. You're right that they're trying to figure out how do we give the economics benefit to a developer, but if they don't fix and focus on why on earth is somebody going to install this and use this as their storefront, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and I would contend that our hate, or my personal hate for Apple and all they've done to screw up this industry, I don't think the consumer gives a shit, right? I think the consumer is just fat and happy with their devices, and they're going to use Apple App Store until the end of days, and like they don't care. They don't see this issues that we're talking about, right? And so like there is no impetus from the consumer. And so if the consumer doesn't want it, then it's not going to happen, right? That's kind of my thinking. You're not going to be able to bring them to water type thing, you know? Now, if you give the consumer what they want, which is discounts, and you incentivize them to move, then a certain segment may move. But you got to figure what those things are, the touch points that bring those consumers on. Because I think for the most part, you know, some 45-year-old mom in Peoria that plays Candy Crush could give a fuck about what the App Store is. Like, they just give me my goddamn app as easy as possible, right? It's that simple, right? It's like, who cares, you know? But anyway, all right.
The one other piece I would say that they could innovate on is social. So in some cases, you want to go where your friends are. And if you've got an ecosystem that allows you to kind of communicate, and it's why Discord is a thing, or it's a place where your library exists, you know, Cress, when you talk about Steam and your love there. Anyway, that's the last piece I will say. All right, moving on, PlayStation. So PlayStation had a 30-minute presentation called PlayStation State of Play. It was last week. They featured 14 games, a few new announcements, and some remakes and some PC news. So I'm only going to hit a couple of things. So some things that I thought were really smart. Number one is it beat Summer Game Fest out the door. So it was able to get its messaging out there. It got a lot of news and a lot of pickup outside of all of the things that are going to happen this coming weekend with Summer Game Fest coming out. No hosts, just content. So keep it simple, stupid, KISS. And they focused on what, you know, this ADHD generation is looking for, which is just give me like really cool trailers. Although some of the trailers were really long. And when they were sequels, like the one that the Walking Dead guy is in, Dead Rising, is that the name of that game? I'm watching this trailer and I didn't play or know anything about 1, and so this is a sequel, and I'm like, I have no fucking clue what is going on in this trailer, and it's like a 5-minute trailer. Can I just say, if you're gonna do it on that, like, might not be the best place to go deep into the lore of a sequel that your audience may not know about. So some of the biggest stories for me, for some reason, everyone, like we talked about earlier, is going after Overwatch and team-based, hero-based shooters. So Phil, again, maybe everyone is giving up on extraction shooters, is opting for hero shooters. They talked about 2. One is called Concord, which was a really fun 70s logo if you watch that come in, but a sci-fi hero shooter touting a live service coming in August 2024. They talked about like character-driven updates. I'm like, ooh, that's what everyone cares about, is like, I want to learn more about my character in a hero shooter. So they did Concord, which was the hero shooter sci-fi, Marvel Rivals, which was a PC open alpha that happened a couple weeks ago, and they announced it for PS5, and so obviously likely coming on Xbox. And then, there's Deadlock, what we talked about, Valve's third-person shooter. So I heard you go, ugh, what did you want to say about the hero shooter lineup?
Just like, why? Like, what's the thesis? I actually think Paladins is probably a closer comp for any of these games, which is from High Res Studios, which is in Alabama, I believe. They've kind of been like what I would consider like a middle-class developer for like the last 10 years. And I don't mean that with any negativity. I mean, they built Smite, which has been a third-person MOBA. And when we say MOBA, that is actually a true MOBA. That has all the staples of a MOBA. That has units that you're trying to kill. It has gold. It has all those things. Paladins is much similar to these games, where you don't have the PvE elements where you're trying to kill characters that are controlled by computer and get gold. I don't know. Why? Yeah. I guess like what's the thesis here? I guess what's the thesis? I mean, Concord, I mean, it looks like it's going to die out of the gate. I mean, maybe it plays well, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. The IP looked completely unappealing to me. I think it actually missed on that title logo that you were talking about, Jen. Like, it didn't lean into the 80s feel.
You're completely correct on that. I was like, oh God. So sci-fi doesn't normally test incredibly well. The characters were kind of bland. I didn't get the branding elements.
The characters were all...
I mean, the gameplay looked okay, but there's like 20 other games that do that gameplay. So I was just kind of like, I don't know. So,
and if they drove home the 80s vibe, it would be go Star Wars, make things more tactical, make random switches, the dumb things that Star Wars always does. There's all these physical elements in the 80s version of the future, and like none of that appeared here. It was just the logo. It was just like really weird.
Actually, the logo is very 70s oriented.
70s,
yes.
70s.
But it felt like, especially with Hunters coming out this week, I was like, okay, which one am I looking at? They looked although Hunters is on phones and this was PS5.
And Deadlock's going to destroy everyone anyways, because it's Valve. Like,
you think so?
Valve's making the first new game.
It got a lot of bad press. Everyone was kind of shitting on
Deadlock?
it. Deadlock, yeah.
If there's any game developer I will bet on, it's got to be Valve.
Okay. I mean, it was a leak. It was testing. As someone who has to figure out how to do testing without leaks, which is incredibly difficult to do, I feel for them, because it's like, guys, we're just trying to get testing on this. We're not trying to go out with this publicly.
Hold on.
Yes.
What the fuck are we talking about here? Like, all these games are the same game, right? I mean, even the Star Wars Hunters, they're all like squad-based hero shooters, right?
That's what we're saying.
Right.
Yeah.
But
agree.
The fundamental problem we're not talking about, Mr. Phillip, is like, what about the business model, right? Like, all this is like cosmetic shit, right? Do they even have loot boxes on these games? Like,
of course not.
Yeah, you can't possibly be successful in these games without loot boxes. Like, that's part of the reason Apex has done well, right? And I don't know about Valorant. I think Valorant has loot boxes as well, right?
They don't have loot boxes. It's complicated though. They're willing to go farther, and they're willing to do $80 bundles though. They're willing to kind of push the CS:GO angle, but they're willing to crank up the monetization, I guess is one way to put it. Their monetization is incredible, and they get that you need to raise price.
It just seems like these are just like, they need to innovate on the business model. Like, the gameplay is the gameplay, right? I think Marvel Rivals has the most memorable characters and gameplay, but like, without the right monetization models, it's going to die on the vine, right? You can't send out the same game and expect different results with a different skin, if you don't change the fundamental problem, which is the business model for these games, right?
I think that to me is problem number 3, right? It's always acquire, engage, monetize, and like they need to do that in that order to be able to win.
Right.
And so I mean, like, let's get through step 1. Can you actually get any scale? And that to me is the biggest barrier for these games, except for Marvel Rivals. Marvel Rivals is going to have stage 2 problem, which is retain, engage. Can you actually build a sizable user base?
Right. And that's kind of where I'm leaning, is like, I don't. Conquer and Deadlock are kind of DOA in my opinion, right? Or well, as Marvel.
Well, hold on. Valve, I'm sure, will bring loot
Dude,
boxes.
they're not a game developer. I don't even know why you even characterize them as such. They haven't made a game in decades, right? So like,
Well,
fine.
I agree with you. They're mostly a research institution, but Dota's still like a smashing success.
All right, fine.
TF2 still has some users that
They're not a
float
game
around.
developer, right?
Nope.
Okay.
But I agree with you by and large.
All right. But they both have not solved that problem. They're like catering to like the vocal minority that don't want root boxes. It's like it's not going to work, right? None of this is going to work.
And no one has really reflected on the fact that Apex launched with loot boxes after Battlefront 2 and has not only maintained loot boxes in its run, it's actually increased them. And they have live ops boxes, which are like $4 a pop.
But it's free to play. That's two different stories, right? Like you paid $70 for that Star Wars game.
We can have this monetization conversation. The only thing I would say is that even at a free-to-play level, loot boxes in this day and age usually get ruled off immediately. I still see it. It's been going on for the last 5 years. They think Battle Pass is the solution.
It's not.
It isn't. We go over this a million different times. And I think people have really underestimated loot boxes. And I know it's been very quiet. It's been very quiet for a long time. I think people have underestimated how important loot boxes have been in all of these live service games, which have been going on for decades. CSGO is the same way. Dota is the same way. You know, they kind of got in before people started getting nervous about the PR pushback. Splitgate, if you remember Splitgate, they kind of snuck a loot box in there too.
Anyway, they're making beautiful games and they're clearly making games that are high quality, but they're just never going to be successful because they've completely eliminated the most important part, which is fucking making money, you know? Sorry, maybe that's not the most important
What they should do is joke that they're putting NFTs in and then take them out. And then loot boxes are going to be, everyone's going to be like, oh, thank God, it's just loot boxes and not NFTs.
Yeah.
All right, a couple other quick things to hit on. Just Astrobot coming out, cute old school platformer coming in September. And then outside of the Helldivers 2 controversy, God of War is coming to PC and will require a PSN account. So that was bold on a PR front to make that announcement. I haven't seen blowback yet, but coming.
While watching trailers, I went through a 39-page slide deck from Sony's business meeting, which they also had. I'm just going to do the highlights so you don't have to go through those slides. PlayStation 5 is Sony's most profitable console to date. It has already generated $106 billion in revenue. The record is still held by PS4 at $107, but operating income is already at a record $10 billion compared to $9 billion for the PS4. There's more than 2,000 publishers and 9,000 games on the platform as of the end of Q1 2024. And they did a little bit of coverage on monthly active consoles. So PS4 versus PS5, it's roughly 50-50, but PS5 has higher engagement measured in gameplay hours. So there was a little bit of doom and gloom around no one's updating. There's actually, it's not as gloomy as I think other news sources were reporting. And then total hours played in April was 3.8 billion, with 63% coming from PlayStation 5. So a little bit of an update on PlayStation business side.
I want a quick comment here. First of all, I thought there was nothing really interesting in that state of play. And honestly, as much as people love Astrobot, it's still very niche and not interesting. It's not going to drive sales of the platform. The fact that they do not have a big release this year is almost criminal in the, fourth or fifth year of the cycle. It's crazy. It is crazy that this big studio org doesn't have a goddamn game coming out this year. It's like, anyway, and this is what my second point is that these stats that they're throwing out, like, it's like operating income is, none of this is really that true. This is like cutting the data in a way that doesn't make any sense, because the reality of it is their development costs are so expensive that they're making far less margin on this business than they used to, right? So their studio org got so bloated, right? And they spent so much money that now they're spending all this time and energy unwinding it. So I can't imagine that this cycle is more profitable than last cycle. Sure, customers are spending more, but so are they, right? It's crazy.
We're bearing the headline here, and I'm interested to see what you think about this. So the monthly active consoles between PS4 and PS5 is split about 50-50. And that's pretty astonishing.
Yeah, people have not upgraded yet after all this time.
What's the explanation? What's going on?
I have no idea.
Yeah,
actually.
I thought that stat was pretty crazy, right? Because PS5 is now, are we in the fourth year or third year of the cycle? Is the economy now kind of preventing a number of people from upgrading to PS5 when, they kind of should be? And then remember that they just replaced the CEOs of the gaming divisions. So one of the reasons, I kind of looked at this too, Cress, and was like, oh, this doesn't feel like It feels like they're not really saying much, and maybe they couldn't because they were in transition for the last few months with their leadership for this division.
They're spinning. What's really crazy is I actually did an analysis on PlayStation 5 4 years ago for one of my clients, and I basically suggested that it was not going to, the adoption curve would be a lot slower, which is actually what's happened. And I'm trying to remember the reasons I thought that then and to see if they actually proved out now. And I think one of the big reasons was that the fidelity of PlayStation 5 is not really all that significantly better than PS4. What you do get is much better download speeds and performance from that perspective. But the visual fidelity is not, like, you're playing FIFA loaded up on one and versus the other. Like, yes, there is a difference, but it's
the same.
Yeah, but for most people, it's not.
I agree with your theory, by the way. This is what I spitball too. And I think if you even buy more into this theory, if there's less reason to upgrade and a lot of the player base is still on PS4, people still make games for the prior generation because the install base is so large. You get this self-fulfilling prophecy. And that was the case for Spider-Man, right? That's a case for a lot of their major titles that would get you to upgrade, is they made them for both.
Yep. That was the strategy for Warner was, I think, you should continue to support second old gen as long as possible. I'll look into that. Actually, I'm going to see what's happening there, get some insights. But anyway, I think they're spinning, and they always have to spin, right? They that's just their job. So,
well, it's a time in the cycle, right, where they're like, oh, I think the economic macro factors are really putting some pressure. I think there is, what you say all the time that I always think about is how do you grow the core console gaming audience? And, Sony's playbook seems to be, well, we're going to keep doing the same thing over and over and expect different results. And, there's not really anything that looks to be on their plate that's going to change the outcome of where they're headed.
Well, unless some of their software as a service games actually take off and do well. That's like one of their goals anyway.
Marathon, let's go.
But they cut back on that, right? Didn't they?
No, I mean, yes, but they still could get outsized returns from Marathon or whatever Jade Raymond's cooking up in Montreal, right? It'll be an interesting transition from them. Oh, and then on the positive side, dude, I can't believe I'm like the half empty or half full person, whatever the fuck the expression is that means that they have 50 million more units of PlayStation 5 to sell, right? Like they got to convert these motherfuckers, right? And then the active install base gets higher if we can convert these people. And I'll tell you one way not to do that is create a higher price SKU with the Pro. Like you should create a lower price SKU, Mr. Sony. But anyway, so that means that there's a lot more people to chase after to upgrade. So that's good.
Oh, but Crest, they did announce that VR PC accessory thing where you can plug in your PlayStation VR thing and you can play VR games on your PC. I mean, isn't that going to be the game changer there, Crest?
My God, the LinkedIn stuff. People posting shit on LinkedIn should think before they speak, dude. The only reason they're doing that is to clear the inventory of shit that ain't selling, dude. They didn't support it at all. I think they had 1 or 2 games that were on the showcase for VR. There was a DOA, dude, from the beginning, dude. What they should have done is made a handheld device that actually is similar to the Switch. They shouldn't fuck with this VR crap, dude. It's just dead, dude. Stop it.
Well, don't they have that? What's that? Ethan's thing. The link?
That's not even a half measure.
All right. We have gone super long and we didn't get to talk about Discord, so maybe we'll hit that next week that they want to make some games for Discord. So check it out. There's an article from VentureBeat that talks about that. All right, everyone. Sorry for the supersized episode. See you next week.
You did it. You made it to the end of the episode. As a fan of the show, it would help us out if you subscribe and leave us a review on the podcast service of your choice. More importantly, are you a member of the Deconstructor of Fun Slack group? If you have 5 years or more of games industry experience, go to deconstructoroffun.com/Slack and apply to join. Join the games industry's best professional community filled with peers always willing to lend a hand. Or subscribe to our newsletter to get all the latest insights from the Deconstructor of Fun content creators. Thanks for listening.